What's good, y'all? It's Lance from Sports Templates here with our new animated hockey jersey template for After Effects and Photoshop. In today's video, I'll be taking you through this template with this Oilers-inspired hockey jersey. Our newest animated mockup is out now, and if you want to follow along, the link to the fonts used and Photoshop library with colors and images will be in the description. That's also where you can find a link to purchase this template, which can also be found at sportstemplates.net. But before we get started, I want to remind y'all to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials like this. Before we get into the actual features of the template, I want to take you to the file folder for the template itself, where you'll notice a few things. The first being there's actually two After Effects files here, a version for After Effects 2023 and another for After Effects 2025. Additionally, there is a folder for a PixMap plugin, which is necessary in order to run the file. In order to install the PixMap plugin on Windows, you first want to open up the file folder and open up the How to Install document. When that opens up, it gives you the directories of where to install the files. So on PC, you want to copy this exactly as it is, hit Control-C, then on your File Explorer, open up a new tab at the top. Click on your search bar, paste that in. But before you hit enter, you just want to change where it says version to the year either 2023, if you're going to use the 2023 version of the file, 2025 in this case, if you're using that version of the file. At that point, you can go back to your plugin, grab the PixMap file, and then you can copy, paste it straight into your plugins folder. I already have, so I don't need to do it again. And from then on out, you will be able to open up the file with no problems and use the template as is. Now we'll go with Ali to how to install this file on Mac.
Hello there. So if you're using this template on a Mac, here's how you can install the PixMap plugin onto your After Effects. So once you open the animated football jersey template zip file, you'll find that inside of it there's another zip. All you need to do is double click it and it's gonna unzip it, and inside of it there is another zip file. Just double click it again and it shows you what's inside of it, but we only need this plugin file. So right click, copy, and then we go to applications, and then basically just choose whatever After Effects version you're using. It's tried with After Effects 2024, so I'd recommend you use this version. So double click, go to plugins, and then right click here and then paste item. So it's gonna ask you to verify, so I'm just gonna click OK, and you can see that the plugin is installed. Now going back to the file, when I try to open it, you'll see that I'm gonna get this message, which means that you just installed a plugin that's not authorized by Adobe, so Mac is just suspicious of what it is. So you just need to cancel, and you can see if you do that, it's not gonna load. You're gonna get this kind of like colorful result, which means that the plugin is not working. So in order to fix it, you need to go to first of all, you need to close After Effects, and then go to search, system settings, and then from here we go to privacy and security. And if you scroll down, you can find that in security, it just detected that PixMap plugin was blocked. So I would just click allow anyway, and just give it the acceptance here. And let's try opening this again. And on here, we just click open. Oops. And you can see that it's loaded and it's working. It's taking the graphics and the designs from the PSD, and you're ready to go ahead with the rest of the tutorial.
When you first open up the template in After Effects, this is what you will be greeted to. But in order to use the template and all of its features, you want to make sure each one of these are open. And if not, then you want to go to the top left of your screen, click on Window, and make sure that your Essential Graphics, Libraries, Tools, Composition, Project, and Timeline windows are all open. From then on out, you can arrange them in whatever orientation you want to best suit your screen. In the Project window, which I have on my left, you'll see that you have a HD 16:9 view of the template, a 9:16 social view, more for Instagram stories of things like that. And then the template will be using the 1:1 square view. Next, in our essential graphics window, you can see that you can use a template with both the front and the back view, just the back view, or just the front view. Moving down in each window, we have both the editable parts, both the front and the back view. These parts include turning off or on the designs on the front and the back, the embossed graphics on the front and the back, adjusting our dynamic lighting as is present on all of our templates. We'll leave that off for now. Turning off and on the wires that hold up the jerseys. And editing all of the individual parts of the uniform. You can see changing the colors on the sleeve and the collar right there. And lastly, closing those out, we have our background, which by default will be our standard gradient background where you can change the color. The top and bottom text where it says Sports Templates Presents Animated Jersey Mockup. Our hero text where it says Hockey Jersey in bold. Or you can turn on our ice rink environment, present your jersey here instead. Now, before moving on to Photoshop, what I recommend is going into both your editable parts layers and turning off the embossed graphics design visibility. Then we can go to our front view. You can see more detail in the jersey. Now, in Photoshop, you want to open up both your embossed graphics and your design files from the file folder. Go on to the your design files, and you want to mainly work from here before working on your embossed graphics layer. In the your design file, you want to turn on this graphics layer. That way you can see everything you're working with in one file rather than going back and forth between the two. And then at the end, we can always hide the graphics layer and bring that over to the embossed graphics here. This will just make it easier for the actual process of designing the uniform, as it's kind of confusing to go back and forth between the two when you can't see everything all at once. Additionally, if they're not already on for you, which are not for me, you might want to go to View, Show, Guides, just so you can see the guides of the uniform, and it'll be easier for you as you're putting together your uniform. Now, looking at the bottom of your layers panel, you'll see a layer that says hide this before going to AE. After Effects, turning this off, you'll see that the placeholder gridded pattern in the jersey is all gone. And that now, if I were to save this, open back up After Effects, give it a moment. Now the gridded pattern is gone and we see the actual colors that we put on the uniform earlier. Now you could hide that and simply work out of your editable parts. Change the parts color, change the colors here, or you can go back into Photoshop. In the sleeves layer, not the sleeves, I'm sorry, front layer, we're going to start at the top. We can turn on the parts here. And if you turn on all of these layers, save it, go back in After Effects, you'll see that the colors on the actual parts of the jersey change. We can either control those in After Effects or Photoshop. It's all up to preference. What I will do is control everything in Photoshop so it's easier to see everything all at one time. I'll also turn this layer back on just so we have the background and it's easier to view everything. Okay, so I will start at the top for everything on the jersey. So I'll start the collar on the front. I want to make this the blue, and I'm working out of our animated hockey jersey library. We're using all of these colors and graphics here. So just click on the layer and you can click on any of the colors in the library and it'll adopt that color. We're going to change this to blue here. I'm actually going to hit Control or Command J, duplicate our color layer. Then I'm going to convert it by right clicking it, convert it to a smart object. Now, double clicking on the layer preview and double click on the layer itself again, we have our layer style menu. Here, I want to add a stroke. I want to change the size of that stroke to 30 and make sure it's positioned on the inside. We just want to make sure this color is our white color here, which is more of a gray. because using 100% white or 100% black with these templates can cause detail to be lost on the actual 3D preview. And we can close out this window here, this smart object window. Make sure you hit yes to save. And then next, in order to get our kind of stripe going around the top, we're going to hit the layer mask icon down here at the bottom of your layers panel. Then I'm going to hit B to open up the brush tool. Make sure to bring this down, turn the hardness up. Make sure your selected color is black here, which you can always make sure if they're not black, if they're a different color, you can always hit D on your keyboard, which will bring you back to black and white, and then X to make sure that your black is selected. And again, with your layer mask selected, you just want to get rid of the edges here, everything on the bottom, and back to this side as well. I'm hitting on my parentheses key, not the parentheses, the brackets keys to quickly increase or decrease the size of the brush. Now on here, again, just hitting X, make sure our white is on top. That's going to show the layer mask. We're just going to nice it here. Now our color has this white stripe at the top. Coming down to the front, which is the front part layer. Make this orange. You have the sides of the torsos here. Make sure they are orange as well. Then on the actual front part here, I have the neck front part and our necklaces options. We're just gonna shift click all of these layers from the bottom to the top, shift click those. And now we're gonna make sure these are blue. Moving on to the back, and it's actually all the same process. I'm just gonna close out the front group, open up the back, click on the back layer, change that to orange. Collar and the neck stripe, we want to make sure they are both blue. We also have a nameplate option, but we're not going to use this for this design. And then going to our collar back, like we did before, you want to Control or Command J to duplicate it. Right click, turn it into a smart object, and then double click on the thumbnail for the layer. Double click on the layer to open up the layer style menu. Click on stroke, and the settings we just used should be here with a 30 pixel stroke on the inside in the same white color as our library. Then we can close that, hit yes to save it. Now we add our layer mask, hit B for the brush tool, and again just paint away the edges we don't want it to be showing. Like this, just to get that edge over the top of the collar on the back. There we go. Lastly, we just want to get the colors correct on our sleeves. I'll close the back group, open up the sleeves, and we can actually select everything in here. The sleeves are just one color. That's clicking on the bottom, holding shift and clicking on the top, and then making these all orange. And even the layers that were hidden before are now visible, and we just know all of them are orange. Next, I'll put our stripes over our uniform. We can come back into our front group. Over in your toolbar, we're going to right click towards the bottom, bring out the rectangle tool. I was on the ellipse tool before, so that's what I'll see. You might see the rectangle tool by default. If anything, you can always hit U on your keyboard. That's the keyboard shortcut. That'll bring that up. And then we want to just drag out a rectangle. Doesn't matter the size right now. Just make sure that it is our white color. Then we can hit Control T and start getting the proper size right. You kind of want to bring it just about halfway above our jock tag here, like this. And then additionally, what you can do is hit Control or Command T again and drag this all the way out to the other side, since both the front and the back are aligned on the template, just like this. And then the part in this gray area will not show up on the template, only the parts that are actually on the same layer or like the same space on this front part. You'll see here only the parts kind of within this dotted line will actually show up on the template. We don't got to worry about any of this part showing up anywhere we don't want it to. Then select it, hit Alt or Option, hold Alt or Option, and then you want to click and drag it up. And I'll hold Shift just to make sure it doesn't move anywhere. Now we can click our blue color and then do it again. There. And make it white. Then I select all 3 rectangles, shift clicking, come up to our line tools in the top. I'll hit hold or click on this tool here. Make sure there's an even amount of space in between each stripe. Then we can add these to a group, hitting Control or Command G. Then we just copy this group, close out the front, go into our sleeves. We just want to paste these here too. One on our left sleeves, and we're just hitting Control or Command T, kind of hovering around the edges of one of these squares around the edge of the group. Now bring up this little rotate icon. I'm going to hold Shift as we rotate just to make sure that we're rotating it at 90-degree angles. Excuse me. Holding Alt as we drag this down, make it smaller on both sides. I'm going to put this around here. Bring this up. And you want to copy that group, hitting Control or Command J, Control T, and drag this over to the right sleeve as well. Right, closing this out, going back to our front group here, we want to get our blue part on the top of the shoulders. So, and open up the group we made before, and we just want to shift click the top 2 and hold Alt and drag them up and out the group. That's going to make a duplicate of these rectangles. Now taking the blue rectangle, we want to Control or Command T and drag it up. This is the duplicate version that's outside of the group. Kind of drag it just a little bit above where the jersey front kind of ends on the torso part, just a little above this area here. And then you just want to drag it from the top, make sure it's covering all of this part here. Then we want to take our white version, our white rectangle here, drag this up, and then you want to align it with the bottom of the blue here. About there. And then maybe hit Control T. I think we're going to lower this a little bit so it's not so much of a trim. And this will cover the entire top of the shoulders on the torso, that is. Okay, so the very last thing you want to do is make sure we have top part on our shoulders extend onto our sleeves as well. We just take these rectangles that we just made. We're going to Control or Command C, copy those, and paste those into our sleeves layer up here. I'm actually going to turn this into a smart object. Just make sure both of them are still selected and right click one of them and hit Convert to Smart Object. It's going to make it easier for us to adjust and rotate because this might take a little trial and error. We want to bring it down here. We want to rotate it slightly without holding Shift this time and kind of get this angle here. And this is where we want to make sure we have our guides on. Then we're going to add a layer mask to this as well. I'm going to hit the M key on my keyboard to get the marquee selection. And we're going to try to align our little cross here with the guide that's going horizontally here. And just let's start around this little crotch section here. So drag a rectangle out. And once that is selected, we want to make sure our black is the main color on our keyboard. You want to hit Alt or Option and then the Delete key. And then you're going to make sure only this bottom part here is showing. That's the part that's actually visible across the front view. And then we can just unlink the layer mask to the actual layer by clicking on this little chain here on the layer itself. And now we can kind of move this around. If we hit V and go back to our move tool, we can move this around and adjust this while keeping it only visible where we need it to. Then we can hit Control Command S to save. Actually, we're going to do that one more time. We're going to get rid of our graphics on the front and then hide this layer again. Then again, hit Control or Command S to save. Go back into After Effects. And as you see, zoom in. It's going to need some adjusting here. Then move this up. Move it up and to the right, I think. Okay, you see it requires us to move it up just a little bit more. And just saving as we go, going back and forth between Photoshop and After Effects. until we align it just like that. Then we can go back, hitting the view, hit up to 100. We have that there. Now, if we zoom in on the jersey, we'll see that it's actually not connected here on the sleeve where we want it to be. So to fix that, we come into Photoshop, we zoom in some, and on the layer itself, where we just added this, we want to click on the layer mask thumbnail, not the layer thumbnail, and just drag this up slightly, holding Shift. Then we can save that, go back into After Effects, and we'll see it's connecting here. And the reason we have to do this is because under this guide here, on both the sleeve is actually the front of the sleeve. And up here, this is where we have the back of the sleeve. So to flip this onto the back properly, what we want to do then is copy this layer. Then we're going to hold Shift and click on the layer mask just to hide it for now. Excuse me. And then we're going to copy, not going to copy, we're going to Control or Command T, right click and flip vertical. Then what we want to do is actually just invert. So on the layer mask, we're going to Control I to invert it. So now everything on here is visible except for this part down here. And then we can click on the layer thumbnail and drag this over so it aligns up with that. Now we can save this. Then going back into After Effects, we switch to our back view. You can actually see that the sleeve actually lines up here on our top part on our shoulders. We're going to stick with the front view again. But that's why we have to kind of split this down the middle and make sure these are going in both directions on the front, which is the bottom part of the sleeves, and on the top, and on the back, which is the top part of the sleeve. Then to get this onto the back, we can copy both of these. And for these two that we just copied, we want to click where we unlink the layer. Just go and click in this little space in between the layer thumbnail and the layer mask thumbnail. Bring these back. We're going to hit Control or Command T. We're going to right click, flip horizontally, and just put this on the other one. The other sleeve, that is. Make sure we're holding Shift so that we're aligning it. Just so that it kind of gets on both in the same areas. We're just going to save that. Just going back to After Effects, make sure we got the lined up. Again, it's going to take a little trial and error, but that should do the trick. Now the jersey is all set up, what we want to do is now work on our graphics. We're just going to bring the graphics back, but we're going to adjust all of these, mainly using the graphics in our layers, or our libraries here. We're starting at the top. We can click on the little shield here. And then we're going to drag our collar logo, and we're going to just drag it into the layer right above it. And then we're going to zoom out some, bring this down. It's going to bring up the transform menu with all the squares here. So we're just going to bring this down. Make sure we're holding Shift, keeping those proportions. And we can just add that here. Just the same size as the current badge logo. And then we can hide this one. And now here we're going to have our logo in front. We can hide the team name and team front number. Drag that in. Make sure we are centered. We're going to drag that here. Probably make this just a tad bit smaller. Next, we're going to bring our captain patch. And now that's right where the your logo should be. We're going to actually align it to the top right of that logo. And we're going to hit Control Command T and bring from the bottom left corner, just make it a little bigger and hide the your logo. And then same thing on the brand logo, dragging our brand logo here, aligning to the top left of that, and then bringing it down there. Then we can hide the current brand logo. Then for the back, what you want to do is, instead of just editing this back number, we're going to bring in this number. And this is especially useful when you have a number with a stroke. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So this is a 97 as it is with the stroke. And we see the edges of that stroke are clean. But if we were to use the regular back number and change this to 97, and then if we wanted to make that blue and add the white stroke, lower that down, you see the edges here are kind of rounded, whereas here the edges are sharp. The reason for that is because I made this number with the stroke in Illustrator as opposed to Photoshop, which I would recommend if you have it as well, just to make your numbers or anything with a stroke in there so that the edges won't be rounded. So then now we can select it, Control Command T, and just make that very large on the back here. Change the name to McDavid. Make this bigger. Actually, I'm going to use the stroke here because stroke is very small on McDavid. So it won't be as visible as you notice the roundness of the stroke. And we can just bring this down maybe to 120. And then on the A, we're going to bring in the kerning. There's such a space between the A and the B. There we go. Then we want to copy the number, close the front, bring the sleeves, and just paste that. And now we want to Control Command T, Shift and rotate. Bring this down. Now we actually want to align this up with our stripes here that we put on the shoulder of the sleeves. Make this a little bigger than the current number. Hide that one. Control J to copy it, Control T and Shift and rotate as we've been doing before. And bring this down and just align it with the top of the left sleeve. So again, like I said, the reason I do all of the graphics here is so it's easier to see and work with instead of working directly in here with no background or anything like that. So you want to work all in here and you see everything. And now before we go back to After Effects, what we want to do is actually close the graphics group. We're going to copy this and we're going to hide that layer. And now in here, we're going to Shift and select all of our graphics groups here. And we're going to hide them actually. And then we're going to hit Control or Command Shift and V. And what that'll do is paste everything in the exact same place here, because both these documents are the exact same size. By copying one and pasting them here, we're going to paste it in the exact same place. And so now all of these graphics we just added are going to be our embossed graphics. You're going to have a drop shadow type effect underneath them just to give them a little depth and add more detail to the jersey design. So we can save both of these, Control or Command S. Just saving both of these, and now in the Your Design, making sure our graphics are not visible. And again, making sure this is hidden. Now, coming back into After Effects, we'll see all of the graphics on the uniform as you lay them. As you see here, particularly like with this Adidas one, you can see the drop shadow kind of coming underneath it to show the depth in the uniform. But what I want to do is to further adjust this is I want to bring this 9 over some. As a 7, you can see the full 7 just on one side of the jersey. I want to do the same with the 9. This is on our right sleeve here. So you want to go back into Photoshop, go to our embossed graphics, go to the right sleeves here. And you can already see that these are not quite aligned. But I want to bring this so you can see more of the 9. Go back into After Effects. And I'll do just a little more. Save it. Go back into After Effects. I think that's going to be good for me. Now with the jersey set and fully done, front and back, if I turn on our embossed graphics, our front, our back, we can do our front and back. Like I said, now these also apply to our HD and social views. Just take a moment to load. But then once you're ready, there it is. Once you're ready, you can select whatever view you want. I'm again stick to the square view. And from here, you can go on to render. What I like to do to render is go to File, Export, and add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue. Now, when Media Queue opens, there's just a few settings you want to make sure is set properly. First being the format. I'm going to change this from PNG. Give it a moment to load here. And when this opens up, change this from PNG to your desired format. I would choose H.264. Make sure we're exporting our video and our audio. Do everything else we're going to leave here. You could use maximum render quality. I'm just going to leave it unchecked for now. And then we're going to make sure we're outputting it where we want to. We're just in the folder for the template here. Then we just hit the play icon here. We're going to start the rendering. Now, the quality of your machine will determine how long it's going to take you to render your video, but that is all there is to it in this Jersey tutorial. Thank you for watching and following along. Like I said, if you want to follow along, the link to our libraries and fonts to use is in the description down below. And if you want to get this template for yourself, you can go into the description or go to sportstemplates.net to purchase it for yourself. And I want to thank you all for watching and follow along. Have a good one.